Hello and welcome back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante. We are in the year 1139. I should have looked this up beforehand, now that I think about it. The Archduke and the Overseer. Two powerful lords have been struggling for power in Magra for over 2 years now. The new Overseer of the province, Gaius Tempus, cannot seem to rein in the obstinate spirit of Archduke Tarquinius Milanidas. Unwilling to accept that he is no longer the Overseer of Magra, the Archduke still stubbornly continues to assert his right to rule the province. Most of the Magran gentry who swore allegiance to him generations ago remain loyal to him even now. Gaius Tempus has publicly demanded that the Archduke recognize the Overseer's rule as legitimate. I am the voice and the will of Emperor Ufa II in the province of Magra. All lands, deeds, and titles notwithstanding, Archduke Milanidas must obey his sovereign's will and heed his decree. I hereby extend to the Archduke an offer of peace. Should the Archduke cease his insubordination, his lands, deeds, and titles shall remain his own. The Archduke's response to the Overseer was openly defiant. Since the days of yore, the land of Magra has belonged to the Milanidas dynasty. We are part of the empire and we are the emperor's loyal servants. However, our dynasty will not stand for such intrusion upon our lawful rights and privileges. Never before has an archduke been stripped of his right to represent the emperor's rule in his own province. So do not forget, Sir Overseer, that the highest noble families of Magra have sworn fealty to me alone. Neither the Archduke nor the Overseer will relent, but both are too powerful to be readily disposed of. The bad blood between the two Archnians had festered for too long, and the common people have begun to pay the price for their strife. Stripped of the Overseer's tax privileges, the Archduke Milanidas has decided to impose his own levy upon the citizens and villagers of Magra. The commoners are now forced to pay taxes twice, first to the Overseer and then to the Archduke. This double burden is too much for the common people of Magra to bear. Many have refused the second tax outright as a lawless measure, but the Imperial Legion led by young Dorius Otton is ruthless. Eagerly and without mercy, the Legion soldiers collect the Archduke's due in cities and villages alike. Okay, security has gone down, that makes sense. The order has gone down, and there's more of a struggle for power. A gift for the family. This last year has been an ordeal for your family. The pains taken to be ennobled by the sword, the close attention of the city aristocracy, the squabbles between Stefan and Gloria. Tonight, your preoccupied father has gathered the entire family around a table in the backyard. The sun has almost set and there is a soft breeze, but instead of a meal in the open air, you're going to attend a family meeting. In the middle of the table, you see an open gilded box. It is full of jewels. Archduke Milanidas himself has bestowed his gift upon us. It is a surprise indeed. I thought you all had a right to know. Father unfolds a letter laying beside the box. Sir Robert Brante, I bestow this precious box upon you and your family as a symbol of the care with which I treat the people of my province. Pray accept this gift and remember with whom the loyalty of the true nobles of the Magra lies. Archduke of Magra, Tarquinius of the Milanidas. The family stares in amazement at the jewels sparkling in the last rays of sunshine. It's worth quite a fortune, but the Archduke is fully aware that I am on the side of Prefect Alborn and Overseer Gaius Tempus. Could he really expect our loyalty to be bought so brazenly? On the other hand, the Archduke is not demanding anything of us, and our family has borne a lot of expenses recently. Father, no one is forcing you to side with Milanidas. Who are we in comparison to the Archduke anyway? We must not anger him by refusing his gift. The jewels are certainly welcome. They are worthy of being shared with the best families of any Zot. They will pave our way to the nobility of the sword. Mother shakes her head glumly. Oh, Robert, I have a feeling this gift bodes ill. It may be an impertinence on my part, but I do not want our family to be indebted to the Archduke. Certainly not, accepting gifts from Milanidas. He's infamous for oppressing the commoners and robbing villagers blind with his taxes. This isn't your decision, Gloria. It's a matter of our family's honor and reputation. Please don't start bickering again. Let Calamity say what he thinks we should do with this gift. You are the center of attention now. Your vote will be the deciding factor. We could give them to prominent nobles as gifts. We could decline the gift, which we're not going to do. Or we could sell the jewels. I think this is the most sensible decision. Not that he probably would, but if Milanidas did notice that we just sold off his jewels, that's bound to come back and bite us. And, well, we still want the jewels for something. You agree with Stefan, a gift from the Archduke is not to be refused. It would be better to use it for a more important goal, obtaining the nobility of the sword. You and Stefan will determine when, how, and to whom the gifts will be given. I'm inclined towards the same solution. Let it be so. I'll send a note to the Archduke expressing our humblest gratitude, but I'll point out that I don't mean to change sides. I still serve my prefect and my overseer. Be careful, father. The Milanidas house is not to be trifled with, but the Archduke will have nothing to reproach you with. Calamity and I will put the jewels to good use. You and Stefan spend the next couple of weeks arranging meetings and attending receptions and feasts. You discover that you are on par with your brother in your understanding of the nobility of any Zot, including their relations and their quirks. The generous gifts and the refined manners your brother and you display before the aristocrats allow your family to rise in their esteem. There is but one disadvantage. You do not have a single coin tucked away in the family treasury. Well, you're influential and still inexperienced, but okay, that's getting somewhere. The power of the law. You have just completed your first year of service at the prefecture. Several days after your second year begins, there is a knock at the door. You look up from your paperwork and tell the visitor to come in. Sir Alborn's secretary slips inside quietly. The prefect has an important matter to discuss with you in his office. Augustine Alborn looks weary and aged, but he greets you with his usual characteristic warmth. You take a seat in a comfortable chair across from him. Sir Alborn asks his secretary to pour you and him some wine. Sir Brante, good to see you. I hope the judge's trade is coming easily to you now. I must admit, I've been watching your first cases closely. You have already had to resolve a rather difficult land dispute between a commoner and a noble. We will see even more litigation of this kind in our province in the future. Now it's time for you to answer an important question. In this great dispute between the two estates, where will you stand as a judge? Take a look around you. Life in the Empire as we know it is changing. It is our duty as nobles and judges to make peace between all the estates on the basis of the law. However, the prefecture faces a great hindrance in its pursuit of its goal. Many nobles are still determined to abide only by the traditions of old, especially the Arknians. For those nobles, the only law above them is the court of honor, where noble ranks and duels decide everything. They reject the jurisdiction of the prefecture and outright defy the newer laws and regulations of the empire. This is to say nothing of what happens when an Arknian has a dispute with a human commoner. Some Arknians would rather cut a human down and then and there than waste time on what they see as pointless litigation, even though the law says that all the emperor's subjects have the right to a fair and just trial. One of the most flagrant violators of the law is Dorius Otton, the commander of our province's military. You've encountered him before, haven't you? That Arknian nobleman is a notorious duelist. Anyone who crosses his path risks insulting his honor. His sword has ended the lives of many human nobles, not to mention all the commoners who have been unlucky enough to run afoul of him when he was bored. Surely you realize, Brante, that we are the only ones who can protect those people. The low-born lot forbids a commoner to arm himself, and even those who would rather defy their lot have no chance against Dorius Otton, one of the most skilled Arknian swordmasters. Otton cannot be allowed to commit murder with impunity. We have to stop him and all the others who act as he does. Imperial law must prevail over their barbarous traditions. But as of now, I have no authority to put Otton on trial. Our province still abides by the old traditions, and humans are powerless against the dynastic power of the Arknian aristocracy. Putting an Arknian on trial for his crimes would be unthinkable at best. We have to work gradually to change this, Brante. I need you as an ally. What we have to do is strengthen the power of imperial law in Magra, so that eventually everyone will respect the law, from humble beggars to highborn Arknians. We must show everyone that the law is not a noble instrument of oppression against the common folk. Like the divine law, imperial law must stand above all with no regard for birth, rank, or title. This is why I have decided to address you today, Calamity Brante. Side with the law, side with your father and myself. Side with justice in every case, always, no matter who stands trial before you, be they lowly commoner or noble elite. With enough precedents, we will put an end to highborn tyranny and ensure that the law is respected throughout the province. But I must warn you, even here at the prefecture I am not all-powerful. Many judges oppose my point of view, not openly, at least not yet, but I am certain they will work against us in the shadows. Now, Brante, what is your answer? Are you ready to side with me and change our province for the better? Are you prepared to support me against the high-handed gentry and defend the common folk from the likes of Doris Otten? Yes. You nod energetically, determined to support Elborn and bring nobles and Arknians under the rule of imperial law. That still means I'm going to treat every court case fairly, and will not just give the commoner 100% the right in every court case. You realize the risks, but for the future of the Empire and its subjects, you are willing to face them. You seal the promise with a handshake. The prefect leans back in his big chair and points at the glasses full of wine. I never doubted you, Brante. With your potential and youthful zeal, nothing will stop us. And now, a toast to the triumph of law in Magra. Your glasses clink melodically. The prefect takes a sip, then puts the glass down to instruct you further. Remember to be cautious. Between the powerful nobles and many other judges at the prefecture, there will be no shortage of enemies on this path. There will be times when I will be unable to help you. My own position is too unstable as it is. So please, do not draw too much of their ire. Letting their wrath reach you is the last thing I want. Last but not least, we mustn't be hasty. If we move too fast and enforce the law against the nobles too soon, they might take up their swords as they have before. We have to prevent an uprising and avert bloodshed. At all times, be just, but also wise and alert. I'm glad to see you on the side of justice. I'm counting on you, and you can count on me in return, Calamity Brante. May luck be with you in service to the Empire. Knowing that, there's gonna be a case really soon where it's gonna be a grave injustice towards a commoner, and I'm going to have to decide. You return to your office, your desk covered with endless paperwork as always. At first glance, nothing has changed, but now you realize the great and important cause working quietly behind your daily grind. Deep in thought, you sit at the desk once again. What fate awaits you in service to this cause? An old friend. Night is falling over Anizot. The stifling heat gives way to an eagerly anticipated freshness. After a day at work, you stroll home at a leisurely pace. You turn down a side street that you have known since you were a little boy. It is as if your legs are acting of their own accord, bringing you to the place of your childhood play, the remnants of the wooden fort. So much has changed since the days when you used to play here with your little friends. Engrossed in your memories, at first you fail to notice that you are not alone here. A tall figure in the uniform of a Legion officer approaches you. You see unruly brown hair and a twinkle in his eye. It is Tomas. Now that's a surprise. Hi Brante. Fancy running into you the moment I'm back in town. Your childhood friend puts his arms around you. Our battalion got transferred here recently. We're under the command of the Magra Legion now. I'm keeping the peace and maintaining order in my very own province. Well, why don't we catch up? Let me buy you dinner. We'll have a little chat. Remember the old days. Tomas cuts himself short. You suddenly notice how much older he looks. His face has become sharper and rougher, and his eyes are filled with exhaustion, rather than their usual mischievous sparkle. I should warn you though, Calamity. I ain't the best company nowadays. I've managed to get myself some powerful enemies already. I'm a friend who could taint your good name, so if you'd rather not be seen with me, well, I understand. The smile on his face starts to fade. I wasn't going to, but okay, we're bound by friendship, so I can't walk away. That's interesting. Alright. You give Thomas your hand. You shake hands firmly. So you haven't forgotten your old friend, Brante. That's the way it ought to be. Well, come on then. You go to a tavern, reminiscing about your childhood antics on these very streets along the way. You choose a table in the far corner of the tavern. Thomas orders a bottle of good wine and some food. You talk about your latest case, about your first years back in Anizot. You share family news, your quest to become nobles of the sword, the quarrels between your elder brother and sister, your mother's health. Thomas nods with concern. Sounds like you've had some tough times. Your family has always been different. Mine, on the other hand, is the same as it ever was. My pa is always in his workshop, and my ma's always doing chores. But look at me. I came home a service-class nobleman, although it doesn't bring me much joy anymore. Thomas is suddenly grim. You ask your old friend to share his troubles with you. He quickly glances around the room and lowers his voice. Well, I'm a captain in the Magran Legion now, and who's our commander? His Excellency Doris Otten. That's right. I serve under the very same Archon whose toes I stepped on back in Eterna, and you better believe he remembers me. I'm afraid things are gonna end real bad. But hey, I'll figure it out somehow. Don't trouble yourself over it. Apart from that, well, it's the usual service. We impose order in uppity towns and villages, protect the province, that sort of thing. And we run drills all day long, obviously. If only you knew how sick I am of them barracks, Calamity. I've thought about starting a family. My ma keeps telling me to find a nice girl to marry. She said it's high time I got hitched. It is completely dark and you are still talking. Finally, Thomas remembers that his parents are waiting for him. You get up from the table, leaving some dirty dishes and quite a few empty bottles behind. On your way out, you catch a glimpse of a nondescript figure following you to the door. As you walk alongside Thomas through your home neighborhood, you keep glancing over your shoulder, but the shadow that was following you has disappeared. You reach your streets and stop for a while in the semi-darkness between your family homes, just as you used to all those years ago. Bye, Brante. I hardly ever come to Anizot these days. A battalion is always on the march all over the province, but twins willing, we'll see each other again real soon. You advise your friend to safeguard his every life. Yep. Reputation going down slightly again. That's still fine. But 20 willpower. Ooh. We haven't really had to use that lately. The newspaper case. Your first year at the prefecture has come to an end. You are not a young student anymore. You know now that a judge's trade means so much more than knowing the law and carrying it out. Resolving a litigation of any importance requires striking a balance between the code of law, high society's opinion, and the whims of the provincial powers that be. Your second year is beginning and it feels much tougher already. Trampled by the nobles, the commoners seek help, and so they turn to the law. They turn to you. A carriage takes you through the silver district of Anizot. It is early morning, and you have just received a letter bearing the seal of the city hall. Remy L. Verman, the magistrate of Magra himself, wishes to see you at once. The mere sight of the magistrate's invitation is enough to make you scowl. This is no doubt about your newest case regarding the Quorum Gazette, which may spell trouble for everyone involved. A provincial legislature, the Lesser Quorum, governs the volume and distribution of taxes in Magra. After a new law created by the emperor's own brother Cornelius Tempest several years ago, commoners of considerable wealth were granted representation in the quorum on par with the nobility, thus forming the Lesser Quorum. Now the representatives of the lowly estates have founded a newspaper of their own, and this Quorum Gazette, distributed all across Anizot, fervently argues for commoners' rights in provincial governance. The man behind the newspaper is Meyer Egmont, a well-off industrialist and owner of several silver mines, and it was his article and his demands that brought about this litigation. You take out the newspaper and read Egmont's article printed within. It addresses Imperial Overseer Gaius Tempest directly. We demand that Sir Overseer Gaius Tempest cease his habitual disregard for our meetings. From our Emperor Uther II we received the lawful right to assemble and sit in the Lesser Quorum, and we say to the Overseer our voice must be heard, our message must be accepted. The carriage stops in a square by a luxurious building. This is the city hall, where imperial officials manage all domestic and economic matters of Anizot. You are escorted up a long, winding staircase to the door of the magistrate's office. You now stand before Remy Elvemont. The magistrate maintains a haughty bearing in spite of his venerable age. His face bears the sharp, proud features so common among the old aristocracy. Ah, yes, Sir Judge. You are from the Brante family, I believe. I appreciate your prompt arrival. I'd rather not waste your time and get right down to business. The matter for which I called you here is urgent indeed. You're judging a case against that newspaper by the Lesser Quorum, are you not? I've had a torrent of complaints against it from the most venerable members of the Quorum. They say Mayor Egmont has insulted Gaius Tempest, our overseer, and an Archneon from the Emperor's own great dynasty, and I say they're absolutely right. The Empire gave those uppity commoners a hand in managing the province's very well-being, which is already a violation of their lowly lot, but no, that wasn't enough for them, it seems. You've earned the mantle only recently, Sir Brante, but you must realize that this is an affront to the honor of the entire nobility. I expect you to do your duty as a judge and immediately find a pretext for shutting down the pathetic Gazette. Elborn, your prefect, might think otherwise. However, Sir Brante, if you exercise enough wisdom and cunning, I am certain you will realize which position is most beneficial to you. With your youth and potential, it'll do you good to have powerful friends on your side. I'm sure you will reach the only appropriate and just verdict when closing this case, and I hope you will be duly judicious. For now, farewell. You return to the prefecture lost in thought. Sir Elverman is right. Your word is all it will take to shut the Lesser Quorum newspaper down. As a judge and a nobleman, you do not even need a reason. The people running the Gazette are mere commoners, no matter how wealthy they might be. There was no breach of law, however. Mayor Egmont's article simply requested that the overseer of Magra hear what the Lesser Quorum has to say. You can reject the nobility's complaints and thus show the commoners they may rely on the prefecture's justice, but Sir Elverman and many fellow judges will be outraged. Father learns that the case has been assigned to you. He visits you and offers some advice. You're in quite a predicament now, son. If you try to appease one party, the other will be furious. Wouldn't you rather see if there's any way to make peace between them? We could host a party at our estate and invite both Mayor Egmont and the noble elders from the Quorum. If you are successful at diffusing the quarrel, no one would object if you decide to legitimize the Quorum Gazette. Even Elberman won't be against it if the nobles stop complaining. However, Father is not your only visitor of note that day. Shortly after the door closes behind him, the familiar face of Judge Carlo Fockegraben appears in your office. He looks around cautiously before speaking his mind. I hear you've been ordered to deal with that newspaper run by wealthy commoners. It's a complicated case indeed. If you ask me, work like that deserves to be rewarded. Why not make the most of it? You're quite close with Prefect Elborn, are you not? Almost related, as it were. What if you were to shut down the paper and seize their printing press? All it would take is Sir Prefect's signature. And my friends among the Quorum nobles, why, they could use a gazette of their own. I would be delighted to help you put that printing press in good hands. Just think of it. You would shut down a subversive periodical and help our esteemed nobles spread their message, all while earning a lucrative reward for your efforts. It's quite a coup, really. Everyone wins. Do you think on it, Brante? He leaves and you are left alone in your office to deliberate. If you decide to shut down the Gazette, how far should you go? And if you choose to legitimize the periodical, how will you go about it? Okay, what do we... Oh, we need more scheming. That's an issue. Yeah, only at 9. But we do want to legitimize the Gazette. By diplomacy and willpower, which we have more than plenty of. That was also, before I even heard the options, that was kind of along the lines of what I thought. I wasn't quite going that, let's say, liberal on the commoners. I was thinking sort of like a public apology in the newspaper to sort of give me something that I can say, okay, look, they've apologized for it, it's fine, they can keep their Gazette. But we'll see how it'll turn out. You spend several days scheduling audiences, exchanging greetings, and presenting invitations to the senior nobles of Anisot. You have to pull all the strings you have and muster all your knowledge of Anisot high society, to say nothing of the family funds you spend throwing a suitable party for such esteemed guests. Which family funds? After much effort, both the nobles and the commoners from the Lesser Quorum have gathered together at your family estate at last. Mayor Egmont, owner of the Quorum Gazette, has accepted your invitation as well. The nobles are clearly vexed at having to tolerate the commoners' presence, yet they maintain that the Quorum etiquette demands. You tactfully take advantage of the situation to begin a negotiation. You inform the esteemed gathering that you are the judge handling the case of the Quorum Gazette. In your opinion, a periodical for the legislature is a most useful initiative, but only if the entirety of the Lesser Quorum shows support for the Quorum Gazette, and only if the Gazette represents the opinions of all its members, including commoners and nobles alike. Your words are met with a flurry of resentful, shouting, disputing voices. People start to argue. Sometime later, the Gazette owner, Mayor Egmont, takes his turn to speak. He looks almost like a nobleman. Egmont is well-groomed and wears expensive clothing, only a wealthy industrialist could afford. Nevertheless, his rough manner of speaking and boorish posture betrays his humble origins. I do say there's some truth in what you're saying, Sir Brante. We did begin the Gazette without asking the noble sirs for their opinion. Still, if they let us have our articles printed, I suppose I'll agree to publish their opinions as well. This leads to another fervent debate. Some nobles reject sharing a periodical with the lowborn, while the more obstinate commoners of the Quorum insist they already have the right to publish the Gazette on their own. It takes you no small amount of time and negotiation to bring both sides to an agreement. It's settled then. As the owner of the Quorum Gazette, I pronounce it the official and legitimate newsletter of the Lesser Quorum, and the noble sirs are invited to publish their articles on the state of affairs in our province. Industrialists and merchants surround you and shower you with praise as a skillful negotiator. Tonight you defended more than a newspaper. You stood up for the entire common estate of the province. Father keeps his distance for most of the party, but once matters are settled, he pats you on the shoulder. Excellent work, son. You chose the path of justice while staying on the good side with the powerful nobility. Even Magistrate Alverman won't hold this against you. Your career at the prefecture will surely flourish. Let's just hope your notoriety as a protector of the common folk won't harm you in the future. Nice. That's what I want to see. Upgrades in both. The night is over. One by one, the esteemed guests leave the Brante estate. Your family home you know so well. You never thought the affairs of the entire province would be one day decided within these familiar walls. Yep, fighting for justice and a career is taking a turn. Oh god, we're in poverty. Alright. At the next possible opportunity for us, we need to get some money. Protector of the people. The call of the ancestors. Today is a big day for the Brante family. The day your family line started, the day when you remember all your ancestors. Tonight, everyone who bears the name Brante must descend into the family crypt to keep vigil by the tombs. This is the time to surrender yourself to your ancestors and hear their will. The entire family prepares for the event in silence. Stefan has been choosing his apparel since morning, praying anxiously under his breath all the while. The heir has a special place in the family vigil. Even Mother is planning to go with you, though Father tries to talk her out of it. Lydia, I beg of you, stay home. You are far too weak for an all-night vigil in the crypt. Gloria, would you be so kind as to stay with your mother, since you cannot, join us anyway? Gloria answers in a muffled voice. As you wish, Sir Robert. The late Sir Gregor would only be enraged to see Mother there. We all remember how their last encounter ended. Father nods curtly, avoiding Gloria's gaze, but at that moment your attention is drawn to a noise in the foyer. Nathan staggers through the door, stumbling over his own feet. He reeks of cheap wine and filth. Late, am I? Everyone gazes at him in consternation. Nathan almost falls into Mother's and Gloria's arms. Distressed, they fuss over him. Stefan eyes his youngest brother coldly. I expected nothing more of you, Nathan. Why even speak of duty to your family when you can't even manage to live by the commoner's lot? Go lie down in the pantry and stay out of our sight. Father, Calamity, it's time. Let's go. Alongside Father and Stefan, you descend into the family crypt. You cannot help but remember paying your last respects to your grandfather 9 years ago. You light the lamps. Dim, eerie flames illuminate the shrine. In the middle of it stands a magnificent stone tomb, containing the long-decayed remains of Gregor Brante. You take your place around the crypt and kneel. The all-night vigil has begun. At first, your ancestors remain silent. Each of you is left with their own thoughts. Then a low murmur passes around you. The shadows in the corners of the room deepen. The voices grow stronger. You know that the ancestors of Gregor Brante, long-forgotten commoners whom you never knew, are trying to talk to you. But now a memory of them has come to life in the darkness of the crypt. They are pleading for something, demanding it of you, calling out to you, screaming. Finally, you all hear that painfully familiar, deep, imperious voice echo from the far end of the chamber.
It's been a long time since I've seen you all. I hope you bear good tidings. All this time I've been waiting for you to fulfill my mission. Remember, as long as I am in your blood, I will give you no peace. I did not have my family ennobled just to see our line cut short. Our blood tide must join the grand flow of the Empire, and then each of my descendants will inherit nobility forever and ever. But I do not see any of you before my tomb. Where are you hiding? Where is the head of our family, the man who will speak to me? Where is the man who will heed my will?
Father rises from his knees and makes his way towards Grandfather's stone tomb, the source of that booming voice, but Stefan suddenly pushes him out of the way. Father takes an indignant step forward, but Stefan firmly bars the way.
Stop it, Stefan. You are my heir, but you are not the head of this family.
Father, it is not you that Sir Gregor is addressing. Earning the nobility of the sword is my duty to him. He has long forsaken any hope of seeing you achieve it. You must understand that I am the one who will fulfill that duty. Stefan does not let him pass. Father breathes heavily in anger. You can all but feel the frantic beating of both their hearts resonating somewhere within you. Both your father and brother seem to have forgotten that you are here too. Even the restless voices of your ancestors have grown hushed, waiting for the outcome of this confrontation. You know what? We've got such a good relationship to both of them that I kind of want to do that. While Stefan blocks your father's way, you step forward yourself. Now they are both trying to stop you, but you are already loudly addressing the spirit of Sir Gregor. Sir Calamity of the Brantes is the man who will speak to him.
Well, look who is here. It's Calamity himself, a recent nobleman of the mantle and a judge. I must admit, grandson, it has always been my belief that you would not be satisfied by the commoner's lot, even when I punished you for your escapades. But are you up to your old tricks again? Do you truly imagine yourself to be the head of this family? What about my spineless son and his rightful heir, Stefan? Or are you planning to take his place?
You look over his shoulder. Father has covered his face with his hands, flustered. Stefan is clenching his fists angrily and whispering something under his breath.
Since you have been so bold as to speak to me, you will hear my will, Calamity. Dead though I may be, my will still lives, and you all are the embodiment of it in the realm of the living. Earning the nobility of the sword is the great cause of anyone who bears the name of Brante. Your duty by blood is to earn us a place in eternity, just as it is my duty to look out for you even from beyond the grave. Your father's follies have become a veritable threat, and I must help you overcome it. You still cater to those foundlings, Lydia and Gloria, risking a permanent blemish upon the Brante name, my name. You are but a step away from leading our family to shame and ruin.
Your grandfather's authoritative speech is suddenly interrupted by your father.
No, father, this is impossible. Even if I must defy your will, I am responsible for Gloria. My honor and my conscience will not allow me to do what you demand. You must accept this or keep on fighting me for all eternity. It is not you that I am speaking, Robert. Calamity, take the family cause into your hands. Do not take after your father. Do not shy away from taking responsibility for your actions. Do what must be done. Cleanse our family of wickedness.
You do not have time to respond. Stefan's strong arm hurls you to one side, but when your elder addresses grandfather instead of you, he is shaking. Sir Gregor, Calamity must be out of his mind. I am the heir here. I am ready to heed your will.
You have heard it, Stefan, and do not let anyone usurp your rightful place again. Otherwise you will lose your very birthright.
Stefan answers his ancestor in a strained voice. I will do my duty to my family, Sir Gregor. Whatever the price, I will pay it. The crypt is completely silent once more. The spirit of Gregor Brante has left. You are alone again. You see tears glistening on Stefan's face. Without a sound, he detaches himself from you and leaves the crypt. Your father casts a disdainful glance at you and follows him up the stairs. You are left in the semi-darkness, alone with the invisible spirits of the dead that follow your family everywhere, even from oblivion. Whatever the will of your deceased grandfather may be, you have proven before your ancestors that you have the right to hear it on behalf of the Brante family. The vigil is over. Alright, this is fine. Oh, more sympathy with Gregor Brante, who's dead. I'm not sure if that'll help us, but we've gained 3 valor. That was a very, very useful decision, I would say. And we can make it up to Stefan. Alright, going into the year 1140, but that will happen in the next episode. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.